table more.
I would say,
Sometimes.
my name is 19 Keys, blessing to everybody this year. We co-founded a group called The Shifters. It's short for Paradigm Shifters. And it's a group of, right now, young black men who all have their own respective abilities, skills, powers, influence, and leadership that they've cultivated themselves. And as the sister said earlier, we don't talk about more so what I do. We more so started what we call the we go. We brag about what we do together, and we showcase what it means to create solutions and be examples and do exactly what you're talking about. We put up our own money and we travel the country and outside the country and we do the work, you know, whether it's teaching people technological solutions, whether it's teaching them political, teaching them all the different things to shift their paradigm, you know what I mean, in all different levels of consciousness. And I think more so the issue that we find that we have is not a lack of resources, because I think we have everything we need. If all the people in the room right here knew each other and communicated and shared resources, then we would build. And I always look at my formula for unity, because like the sister said, we know the word, the reference idea that we need to unify, but we haven't seen it and don't know the formula. So I always say we have to practice inclusion. Right? So we have to pull up seats at the table for each other, and we have to be very, very, very intentful. When me and my brothers practice inclusion, it builds solidarity. We come together for a common cause, and that establishes unity. But oftentimes we don't build the ideas that we want to see with intent, and we don't have a formula stretched behind it. So our goal is always to work by being examples of our leadership, having great leadership competency. I know the good sister was a programmer, right? The queen, I'm sorry, my lexicon, I'm talking about the queen or the king. You were a programmer, and I was listening to something that you said, or reading something that you said, rather, about blockchain and how that's always been in Africa. And, you know, those who control science and technology run the world. You know what I mean? I was watching a video called Futurist, and they were predicting all of the things that exist today, and it was like in the 60s or 70s. But I think spread it across that message, when we think about our solutions, we can be a lot more effective if we utilize the technology that we have today. Oftentimes when we think about what a revolutionary looks like, we look at the old reference model and say, well, if I do that, then I'm a revolutionary. But if the goal is to get the result to whatever that revolutionary is trying to get, not to look like them. So our goal is always to figure out how we can be more effective instead of just efficient, doing what's most important. So it's like utilizing technology and leveraging our influence, because we can amass a large grouping of people in every pocket, in every state we go to and country, because we know how to just gather influence. We understand technology, we understand consciousness, and we study all levels of it. So the goal, I think, for one, would be create a system of communication, right? To where if we look at, in America, we look at who has the most power, who's being the most successful in the last century. And just in the last movement in this decade, the LGBT and the ADL, because they know how to put an agenda on the table and they know how to work towards that agenda and get it done. When we talk about lobbying, the sister was telling us about what it means to be in your bag. that the bag is behind the judge, and if it was full, it means that you're going to get what you pay for. And so I always tell people that we have to understand the system that we're working in, the oligarchy that we're in, the totalitarianship or whatever. And it's more so about lobbying as well, right? Coming together, communicating, what do we want the agenda to be? So we have an event in Washington, D.C., so our capital, and the goal is to create an agenda, right? The vision for 2020. Because all the time, if you have no vision, then you left up to the one who does. If you hop in a car with somebody, you don't know where to go, then your direction has to flow with whoever has the plan. And we haven't been a planning people for a very long time to plan out our future. I'm a very, very present and spiritual person, because spirituality is being present. But we live in a society where we have to have a duality of mindset. In America, it's having the Eurocentric and the Afrocentric. Out here as well, but it's more so the black dream and the American dream, if you will, right? So spirituality is lack of empathy. Business is lack of empathy. But being a spiritual people, the reason we want to cultivate our dreams in sports and entertainment, because it allows us to express ourselves, express our spirituality in a sense. But it leaves us void of the business aspect and what it actually means to gain power. So I always tell people, for one, you have to learn how to not just have your dream, but how do you work it out to bring it about? So not only do we talk about that essence of consciousness, the immaterial, but we also teach you the steps to gain the material power. Because oftentimes you can have all these spiritual rituals, but with no material balance. Today is October 7th. It's the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's birthday, and that's why I wear my crown, you know, a Savior's Day. And he had a quote where he was talking about how he was a farmer in Georgia, and when he was plowing those mules, nobody thought that he'd be a scientist to run the world or to teach the world. But he said, see, with everything, time comes. And we can teach our people who may not know, but we have to be able to communicate between the people in this world and not be affected by our differences of ideologies, philosophies, politics, states, whatever it may be, because everybody has their own agenda in their mind. Sometimes it only goes so far as the vision. You can want to bring people together, but they just looking at what they gonna get out of it, and they're short-sighted. And our people have a mental myopia to where they can't have a vision because they have to take care of their immediate surroundings and environment and their survival. And I know what it's about. I'm not sure what the population is out here. I was looking up black population, but they didn't have it. How much? About 2.5. And when we come out here, the love out here and the energy out here is different than America. The complexity of our problems exists much differently. I believe that it's like I can come out here and say man like Keys, and y'all understand that that's a blanket language across the country. We don't have that in America because we have the divided states. Our language is broken down into state, city, hood, all kinds of different stuff. So you can't just say like, oh, he was in America, he got that language. But when we speak to the people, and we had an event yesterday, when we talk about balancing the masculine energies and the feminine energies and what it means to be toxic masculinity or toxic femininity and building on politics, everybody in the room understood it. Because from what I've seen, at least from the people in the pockets of consciousness that I've tapped into, the minds are less divided as far as what the solutions are. But what I hear a lot is everybody keeps saying, well, Keys, you know, everybody that I'm tapping into, I tap into you, but nobody in my immediate surrounding is conscious. But I'm like, if all y'all telling me that, then y'all the people that need to connect. You build the community, and then everybody else comes, because then they see you not crazy. So it's like, for us, we all have our different pockets around the world, but where's the establishment of communication and shared resources, right? And shared technology, and to build a plan and create an agenda, and however you work towards getting that agenda done, however you shoot your mission, we all working towards the same thing. That's how they continue to run the world, because the agenda ultimately is to run the world. And it's often done in small rooms with people making decisions, creating an agenda and saying, this is how we're gonna work it, but this is how I'm gonna do my part.
I'll give you the floor, and then I'll come to you, and then to the Queen. Okay.
So a brief